administrative person that keeps us on the right path. Al Gravel. My name is Ray Beal. I'm the vice chairman. I'll be chairing the meeting tonight in the absence of our chair, Don Bowen, Hans Winthrop, Jim Besakarski, and Paul Doherty. The process for the meeting is that we will have the application read, and we'll give then the applicant an opportunity to present any additional data that he or she might have, and a chance then for public comment, pro or against, and finally bringing it back to the board for the board members' questions and deliberation. So without further ado, would you please read our first application, Lisa?
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman. This is an application for a special permit, Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 40A, Section 9, Zoning Board of Appeals. The name and address of the applicant is Peggy R. Bull of 179 South Ave, number 11, New Canaan, Connecticut. The undersigned hereby makes application as follows. She's seeking a special permit to demolish the existing structure and rebuild a year-round home. The proposed action has not begun. The basis for this application for the special permit is found in the following section of the Lunenburg zoning bylaw, Section 7.4. The street address of the property is 178 Peninsula Drive in Lunenburg. The assessors map is 42, parcel 26. The name and address of each holder of legal title to the land, which is the subject of this case, is Richard M. and Ronnie Ann Nadilli, 314 Highland Street in Lunenburg. And the deed was recorded in Worcester Northern District Registry of Deeds, Book 1207, page 252, and recorded 8/10/1978. They have no knowledge of a prior appeal, application, or petition concerning the land or building involved in this case. It's signed by Peggy R. Bull of 179 South Ave in New Canaan, Connecticut. There is a list of abutters attached, a copy of the field card. There's also a letter. We give permission for Peggy R. Bull to apply to the Lunenburg Zoning Board to apply for a building permit to replace the existing structure at 178 Peninsula Drive with a single-family home, and that's signed by Richard Nadilli on May 22nd, 2013. The questions on page 3 have been answered as follows. The proposed structure for a single-family home on 178 Peninsula Drive, Lunenburg, Mass. is for a single In no way will the structure be injurious or dangerous to the public health and will not contribute to traffic congestion. It will not create any risk of fire or explosion. The proposed structure will not have any adverse effect on the land, the value of the land and structures in the neighborhood, nor on the amenities of the neighborhood. In fact, the proposed structure will greatly improve the aesthetics of the neighborhood and enhance the property values of neighbors. This will not be an open-use structure. The proposed structure is a single-family home for residential use and will not produce noise, vibration, smoke, dust, odor, heat, or glare observable at the lot lines that would be clearly detrimental to the normal use of the adjacent property. The existing structure at 192 Peninsula Drive is currently in substandard condition. Removing the existing, well, it should be 178, but it says 192. Removing the existing structure and replacing it with an attractive newly constructed home which meets all current building code standards and energy efficient standards will greatly benefit the neighborhood and the community. There is a overlay of the existing and proposed structure on a site plan, and there is also a building plan attached. Also, I received a memo from the Board of Health today. The septic system for the site has failed, and soil testing and a new septic design has not been done. It is difficult for this to comment except to make the following general statement. A new septic system in compliance with Title V and the Board of Health regulations will be needed. 2, depending on the system design, the footprint of the proposed structure may need to change. 3, the house shall remain as a 2-bedroom unless the system in full compliance with Title V and the Board of Health regulations can be installed. And that's signed by James Gariffi, Health Agent. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome.
The applicant care to speak to this?
Thank you.
I'm Al Patnott. I'm actually speaking for Peggy Bull. She unfortunately wasn't able to make it tonight. That's just a letter giving permission for that.
Oh. Do you want to read it? Please?
To whom it may concern, Al Patnod has our full permission and thanks for being our representative at the meeting of July 10th, 2013. These are concerning the property at 178 Peninsula Drive, Lunenburg. Thank you, Peggy R. Bull.
Basically, the concept, as you can see with the plans and the overlay, is to replace the existing structure, which is falling down at the moment, with a new single-family small cape with an attached garage. The plan at the moment is to stay with a two-bedroom home design, as you can see in the plan, and we are aware that we would have to go through all the Title V process for replacing the septic as it sits.
Okay. Is there anything you want to add to what was submitted in the petition?
No, I mean, I think it's, the information that we provided is pretty straightforward. There's no real complexity to it. If you look at the overlay itself, it is a little different than the existing footprint. We did try to, again, create more of a traditional shape of a cape. That's why it's more rectangle than what the original offset shape was. And now it has a little bit of a garage. The corner to the left of the existing structure will be pulled further away from the water line, but on the right-hand side, we'd be extending that corner a little bit.
I have a couple of questions on the application, and one of the things I noted on the application was that question 10 was not answered, and I presume that the desired answer for that would be not applicable.
Not applicable, correct.
Okay. I assume that you did get a copy of the application instructions, right?
Yes.
The plan that you had submitted with this package, is there a full-blown plan showing who did it?
Not as of yet. That's an overlay from an existing tax plan, I believe.
Say that again,
I
please?
believe it's an overlay from an existing tax plan, I believe. We have a survey that's actually going out, has actually been out, and is in the process of surveying to confirm everything. Would need that prior to any demolition anyhow, to confirm the existing
Right.
structural location.
And this was from a previous plan?
Correct.
And where did this come from? You know, was it an engineering plan, or?
Yeah, it was an engineering plan done by Ross Associates.
So it's a copy of a Ross Associates? I just want to point out that in the application instructions, there are very specific guidelines of what we're looking for in these plans,
Okay.
and to be sure that they need to be included. And I don't see them in the package.
Okay.
Now, it's going to be up to the members of the board how significant that is, but it's very clearly laid out as to the items that need to be in that submitted plan. And that's in the instructions in 1D.
Okay.
And it's referred to in the application, I believe. Okay. Is there anybody in the audience that'd like to speak either in favor of or against this application? Please.
Evening. I'm Ken Takmorian. I live on Peninsula Drive, very close to the location that's being talked about. I'm very much in favor of the house being torn down. It has been an eyesore to myself and my neighbors for many, many a year. If I were trying to sell my house, it has devalued my house. It's a danger to anyone that comes down the street, the young kids. I have grandkids now, I had kids. When I looked in the house recently, you can look up at the sky. You see the insulation hanging down. There must be mold and everything all over the place. It would tremendously improve the neighborhood. I haven't seen the new plans. If it goes along with the town's rules, I'm totally in favor of it.
And you are at 191 Peninsula Drive?
Yes.
There was a form that came to us as a part of the package, signed by a number of the people within the abutters list, a 300-foot abutters list that had signed in favor of this, but I didn't see that your name was on that, so I'm glad that you presented. Anybody else would like to speak for or against this petition? Okay, hearing no other, we'll bring it to the board. We'll start with you, Al.
Okay. I have a few questions. Just, clearly I've seen the house, and there's no question in my mind it needs to be torn down and hopefully rebuilt. One of the questions I have involves the septic system. If the layout of the land and the topography of the land makes the septic system be placed somewhere where you currently now have the house, what are your plans to work around the septic system that you can, have the layout of the house if the septic system affects the current layout that you are proposing?
Well, if you actually look at the shape of the lot, we do have some flexibility with the sideline to be able to slide the house in and around the lot a little bit. There's not a lot of space. The soil over there are sandy soils. There are some septics that have been recently replaced, which are raised septics. But with a two-bedroom system, on a replacement of a septic system under a two-bedroom, they're going to be pretty small within regards to scales over there. Really, the biggest thing we're going to be looking at is the separation from groundwater. So the scale, overall width and length of that system isn't going to be that big in general. It's more just a groundwater separation. So the only thing we may be looking at more of is maybe a little bit of shifting, but probably just more of an elevation change of the existing top of foundation, where right now, if you look at it, it's pretty much right at existing soil. There's really no transition. So that foundation, which would normally come up anyhow, would probably push up, and that way that would allow for a natural transition in the soil coming across rather than a molehill sitting in front of the house.
Okay. One of the other things I'm looking at your overlay, the house, it's a little bit, I'm not going to say it's larger. I can see that, the main part of the house that's larger is the addition of a garage.
Right.
Which makes a lot of sense, and you just kind of squared that house off from the kind of odd shape that it was.
Correct, just trying to make it more traditional to what's around the neighborhood.
Right.
A simple cape, nothing overwhelming, with a little bit of a breezeway, and then the garage attached.
Right, so you've really tried to keep it in the same footprint.
Correct.
Other than,
without
the
getting it,
addition of the
without making
garage.
a odd-shaped house.
Correct, okay. As far as the plan that was submitted, I personally don't have a problem with this as submitted. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hans?
The only thing I had, Mr. Chairman, was that I was just looking at I went down and took a look at the structure of this land. I'm in agreement with Al that it's an eyesore and probably needs to come down. And I think, your structure would probably be a blessing to the neighbors. The only one question I did have, since you're having a survey done, it's tough for me to see this without the actual meets and bounds. Because, your scale here is, 38 feet to your neighbor on the right-hand side. But I went behind the house and I think you probably only had 5 or 6 feet there before you hit water line. So what I'd like to see is that survey plan with some meets and bounds as to, where this actually is going to be and then where your septic system is going to be. I'm assuming that you're working with the Board of Health on that to have that done as well.
Correct.
Yeah, that's something,
This plan that's here, it actually was an original survey plan, which does have meets and bounds on it. And the dimensions of 38 plus or minus is actually off an original plan, as well.
Could you come to the microphone, please? Thank you, sorry.
Sorry. This plan is an actual surveyed plan from Ross Associates, just a shrunken down version, and the dimensions that are sitting on there are actual dimensions that were on that plan for the 38 feet plus or minus. As you can see on the back, the landscape retaining wall that's actually identified there is actually still in place.
yeah, I saw that, yep. But it seemed like it wasn't, it didn't seem like that was that far off. I thought that, you know, it was only a few feet from where the house was and where the water line was. I guess I'd like to see the actual meets and bounds property, you know, the actual physical paper instead of just a highlighted version here. Not that I don't take your word for it, but I think it'd just be helpful for me to see it, if you're having it done or if it's already in existence.
Yep. Okay.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Jim?
A few of the questions that I had have already been answered, but my concern would be seeing the letter from the Board of Health today. If we're putting the cart before the horse, so to speak, and approving something, I don't know if we would want to table this for further consideration until you have your specific drawing done and everything.
Well, one of the things that we need to consider is that this is any approval by the board is contingent upon their obtaining all necessary permits from other municipal boards.
I understand that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, my name is Richard Nadilli, and I presently own the property. We had a plot plan done, an engineering plan done by Topo, done by Ross Associates, and I have it, so I could bring it down if that made a difference to you guys.
Yes, it makes the difference, because that's one of the things that our instructions
Sure.
say that we need to have in our package.
I only live down on Highland Street, so I could go down and bring it back right away, if that's appropriate.
I think that's appropriate.
No, not
Yeah.
an issue with that.
Yes.
Yeah, I got a question before you do that, well, a question and a comment.
Are you, wait a minute,
So good.
Paul.
Yep.
Okay, you all set? Or did you
Yeah, I'm
have a
good.
further comment?
Sure, no,
Okay, because this is with the board now.
okay.
Paul?
Well, I don't know how long it's been since the house has been used, but is the municipal water already connected to the structure? And will it be? And could you come to the mic again, please, sorry?
Yeah, sorry. Presently, it's a private well, which is on the left-hand corner of the property. There is municipal water out front, and that would be part of the requirement to tie in. That's your standard town requirements.
Right, so that was the plan, too.
It would have to be.
When I look at your second floor layout here,
Yep.
and I know you're only asking for a second bedroom,
Yep.
but the way you have the pass-through construed to the unfinished storage on top of the garage, that could easily become another bedroom down the road after all the meetings are said and done, and I would be a little uncomfortable with that myself.
Are you talking, well,
Now, the area on top
I
of
guess
the garage.
I can answer it in two different manners for you. Under Mass Building Codes, future possible space can't be considered in a plan for a future bedroom. Just because anything could be modified into a future bedroom set is outside of the building department's realm. Anybody that would bring it up would have to go through the building department to upgrade or finish off a space. You know, it's like you're running into a lot of different towns trying to say that a bonus room could be a bedroom. Anything's possible for that, but again, it would have to go through the town building department, and at that point in time, that would trigger Board of Health to review whether or not the septic system was the right size for that bedroom, and approve or disapprove at that point.
Right, I mean, I couldn't tell if you got 10 people in one bedroom, or if you could put another bedroom in down the road.
Right,
It
and-
just looked, the way it's laid out, it looks like that perhaps that was somebody's thought down the road.
No, the concept was to not take, if you look at the garage size itself, we try to keep that smaller, it's 22 by 24. In a standard garage, 24 by 24 is typically the norm with it. If you're gonna try to put any access for storage above, via for canoes or any type of seasonal things, especially if you're going to try to put a stairway in there, you're going to expand that. We were trying to avoid that, and that's why we used that mudroom space as a stairway to connect both and not have a separate stairway in the garage, which would make the garage bigger. So that was the concept through it.
I mean, you could do a stairway outside, but okay. That was just what jumped out.
But even a stairway outside is actually considered structure. A deck is a structure, stairway outside is a structure, so my structure would be getting larger, and we're trying to keep the footprint just...
Point you're making is that any modifications after the approval will require a building permit, right?
Correct.
You have to go through the building inspector.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think.
And I think that looking at the layout of the house, it's a fairly moderate-sized house, and those types of, you always are looking for storage. There's no question.
Yeah, especially if you're my wife.
You all set, Paul? You have anything?
No, that's good.
Okay. I too visited the site, and I presume that there's going to be some tree removal there in order to do this construction. Is that something that you've talked to the Conservation Commission about, or?
Yes, we've talked to them, and again, one of the things that we'll have to do is, once we truly figure out the septic design based on what we get approved here for a plan, that would be needed not only for the front, but also just for the demolition of the structure. There's some very mature pines on the back edge. There's actually some mature pines that are past their age that are already dying and starting to fall back into the water. Anything we do along that water edge, we know we have to go through conservation approval for that. And typically we would mark those, have them do a site visit on the property to identify the trees that we would need to remove. Again, as you probably know, any of the tall pines, anytime you're dealing anywhere around them with any type of heavy equipment, once you start actually disturbing the root systems by compacting the soil, you're basically going to kill that tree. Pines are very sensitive in that manner, so.
The other thing I noted there was an oil tank out front. Has there been an environmental assessment done on this property?
Not that I'm aware of.
And am I correct to assume that this is under contract to purchase?
Correct.
Contingent upon approvals, necessary approvals for?
Correct.
And what was the digging out front? Was that for?
That was when the septic system was being verified. So the system sits out, if you're looking at the house, the existing tank sits just to the right of the front door. And we had to open that up. That was pumped down. It was inspected. Upon inspection, because it's an old tank, there was another hole dug just to verify where groundwater was, just as giving us a rough idea for soils prior to actually going through and doing a deep and a perk.
Another question I have is, who did these house plans?
I did.
And you did them?
Correct.
Not an architectural, no certification on these, or is that just copies?
No, I actually have a degree in architectural engineering. I don't have my license, so.
No.
But I've been
Okay.
building my whole life, as well as my father and my grandfather.
So what is the height of this structure compared to the existing structure? We've got here,
Existing structures is similar, it's a single story, but the roof line is a shallower pitch. So this will pick up probably about an additional 6 feet over the existing structure that's there now.
So it's about 22 to 23 feet on average.
Correct.
okay, I guess that's all the questions I have for you.
And if I can jump back to one of Paul's questions, if that garage is an issue with regards to your concern, one of the options may be, and I could ask potential owners, Peggy, about removing that front window and just making that more of a barn access type of door, so you don't have that, living space feel for it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't see you bringing canoes up into the bedroom to put into the storage the way you have it set up right now.
True, yeah.
So.
No, we actually did a house for them right over the line in Townsend, and what we have there is we actually have a pull-down staircase in the garage for anything big, but they do collect a lot of different things, and this is overflow. And they truly collect a lot of
You
stuff.
can never have enough storage.
Yeah.
Okay, so this, any other members have any other questions, or shall we bring it to the board for deliberation now? Just,
My question, good.
okay. I guess that one of my concerns is still the lack of a plan, as you've expressed to Hans, but he will bring that here, but,
Did the applicant go to get that? No, not the applicant, but the owner,
went to grab
the
that
current
one.
owner?
Yeah.
And are we going to see this very similar to? No,
You'll see the existing structure, you would not see the overlay.
right. But I mean, it will, the leaps and bounds, you said this is an
The full
engineered plan.
correct.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Should we table it until he returns? Would that,
what's the feeling of the board?
Well,
I still got a couple of minutes the next
Yeah, I
meeting.
think that we should give him time to get back. In fact, here he is.
Oh, yeah.
Timing's beautiful. Your timing is perfect.
Good. Who should I give it to?
If you could present it to the secretary. Present it to the chairman.
Oh, I see, yeah.
And I think we have a 2163. We do. 20. We do.
But I had multiple copies.
8 from the corner. 347. Correct.
That was surveyed and everything.
Isn't this what you're worried about? I don't see it.
Yeah.
sketched in on there was what, 30s?
Well, it's basically, I think, if you're looking at all the dimensionals, they're the same.
Yeah.
They're the same.
Yeah.
I guess the scale is 1 inch, 10 feet.
That's my scaling.
So if you did that,
That's about right.
Yeah.
but it's certainly
Yeah, that looks about right.
looks right. Everything else looks right, so I'm going to
Yeah.
assume that's correct.
And the present septic system is,
The tank's right in front of the front door.
Yeah.
That's not shown. Doesn't show where leach field is either, but
This-
that's all going away.
It's no good anyway, so,
Yeah,
yeah,
they're getting rid of it anyway.
yeah.
I think it's probably going to end up in here, but who knows?
This is a fairly big lot compared to some of the others that are down in that area anyway, so they
Yeah, it is.
probably have
It
room.
is, yeah.
Yeah,
probably have to move it this way, right?
don't know,
Well, he's pretty much staying on the footprint.
yeah.
Which is one of the things that when I said I could use this is because he is staying pretty
Right.
much on the
Yeah, you just
footprint.
Yeah.
reconfiguring it a little
And the only thing going out of the footprint is really the garage.
Right.
So, to me, there's not a lot
livable
of,
space.
not issues here.
Okay.
That-
Okay.
Thank you very much, that was helpful.
Yep.
Okay, the chair will entertain a motion. If there's no further discussion,
I will make a motion that we grant the special permit to demolish the existing structure and rebuild a year-round home on the finding that such alteration will not be substantially more detrimental to the non-conforming structure of the neighborhood.
do I have a second?
Second.
Now, of course, we would condition it with the conditions of the septic system, the Board of Health, the water being hooked up, complying with all the other boards in town. And also, if the septic system interferes with the current layout, I'm not really sure where we would go with that,
Well,
if you had to move the structure.
in that event, if their design plans run into a problem, then they may well have to come back to the
You'll
board.
have to come back. So,
But if the plans work as they're presented, why?
Right. so that's exactly right, because what we're approving is what you're submitting.
I second that.
Second it? Any further discussion? Paul? Any? I'm good. No? Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. So I need to read you a few things here. We've found that this will not be of any significant adverse effect on the value of the land, buildings, and neighborhood, or on the amenities thereof. Also, it will not be injurious or dangerous to the public health or unduly hazardous because of traffic congestion, danger of fire, explosion, or other reasons. That it will be operated with reasonable regard of order and sightliness, and will not produce noise, vibration, smoke, dust, odor, heat, or glare observable at the lot lines. The special authorization is granted with the contingency that the petitioner comply with all licenses, regulations, statutes, and ordinances of any and all applicable state, local, and federal boards or agencies with jurisdiction over the premises. So that gets back to the point that you need to have the approval of the Board of Health and any other agencies, local, state, or federal. The granting of this special permit shall inure to the benefit of the applicant and shall cease in the event of business is sold or sublet to another party. The special permit is subject to periodic review by the permit granting authority, the ZBA, or the enforcement officer to ensure compliance with the enumerated conditions. Noncompliance to these conditions may result in the revocation of this permit. And you should, this will take, help me with my times, Lisa.
You have 14 days to
Four-
prepare the decision, and then there's a 20-day appeal period once it's filed with the clerk.
We have 14 days during which the decision will be prepared, and after it's stamped with the town clerk, there will be a 20-day period that it may be appealed to Superior Court should anybody have an objection to it. So our advice to you is to be cognizant of those time limits, and to anything that you do prior to that, it'll be at your own risk. This should be, again, recorded with the Registry of Deeds. With that, all the best.
Good luck.
Yep, good luck.
Good luck.
Thank you. Yep, good night.
He said, I know you.
Everybody knows you.
Scary, isn't it?
My apologies, I'm running 5 minutes late. The next case is 5 Spring Street. And would you please...
Absolutely. This is an application for a special permit, Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 40A, Section 9, Zoning Board of Appeals. The name and address of the applicant is Raymond and Sally Codzis, 15 Ironwood Lane, Millis, Mass. The undersigned hereby makes application as follows: to raise an existing single-family house built in 1942 on a .26 acre lot and reconstruct a new single-family house in a new location with a different foundation footprint. The basis for this application for special permit is found in the following section of the Lunenburg zoning bylaw, section 7.4. The street address is 5 Spring Street, assesses map 122, parcel 56. The name and address of each holder of legal title to the land, which is the subject of this case, is Raymond M. Codzis and Sally Ann Codzis, recorded in Worcester Northern District Registry of Deeds, Book 1394, page 209, recorded May 2nd, 1985. They have no knowledge of a prior appeal, application, or petition concerning the land or building involved in this case. Drawings to appropriate scale, a sketch or diagram of the land and buildings which are the subject of this case include the information listed under Section 1D of the instructions and attached to this application. See attached site plan L-123 by David E. Ross Associates, Inc., dated June of 2013. The following additional information is provided because it is considered important to the case. The existing house was recently damaged by a fire. The structure is currently uninhabitable. Given the condition and structure age of the existing house and foundation, it seems most logical to raise the existing house and rebuild. Rebuilding in a new location is critical to place the house completely on the deeded lot and completely above the 100-year floodplain. That's signed June 13th by Raymond M. and Sally A. Codzis. There's also a copy of the deed, and the questions are answered as follows. Section 12, answers to questions. Will not be injurious or dangerous to the public health or unduly hazardous because of traffic congestion, fire, danger of fire, or explosion, or other reasons. The answers: the raising of the existing house and rebuilding of a new home will be in accordance with state and local building codes. Portions of the existing house were built over 70 years ago. The existing house recently suffered significant damage due to an electrical fire. A newly constructed house will be a safer structure than currently exists. The use of the property remains the same, residential. The house will be constructed with the same number of bedrooms as required by the Lunenburg Board of Health Regulations and Title V. The proposed house location is further from Hickory Hills Lake than currently exists. Actually, it's Lake Shirley. The proposed house is located completely on the deeded property. The proposed house will be located completely above the 100-year floodplain versus the existing house. B, will not have a material adverse effect on the value of the land and buildings in the neighborhood or on the amenities of the neighborhood. The answers: the existing house was recently damaged by an electrical fire and is currently uninhabitable. The proposed house will be a great improvement to the value of the land simply because the proposed location would be completely on the deeded lot and completely above the floodplain. The proposed single-family house is similar in size and design as adjacent homes, a one-story house like the adjacent house and smaller main foundation footprint compared to the adjacent houses. C, will be operated with reasonable regard for order and sight lines if an open use. Answer: use of property will remain the same as the current use, single-family house. D, will not produce noise, vibration, smoke, dust, odor, heat, or glare observable at the lot lines in amounts clearly detrimental to the normal use of adjacent property. The answer: use of property is the same as a current use, single-family house, therefore will not be more detrimental to the normal use. There is also a list of abutters, a site plan from the assessor's office, and there is a letter from Ross. Shall I read that, Mr. Chairman, or?
I guess we should for the...
Okay.
Yeah.
This is from David E. Ross regarding the special permit application. Dear board members and staff, on behalf of our clients, Mr. and Mrs. Codzis, we ask permission to submit a revised site plan for the special permit application submitted on June 13th, 2013 for the above referenced property. There was another plan that came initially, and then the subsequent plan. I only included the new plan in your packet, just to avoid confusion. It came to our attention that the house dimensions were slightly incorrect on the originally endorsed site plan, stamp date 6/13/13. In addition, the location of the stairs off the proposed deck and front porch were omitted. The proposed conditions, plan view, and the table of zoning compliance on the attached site plan L-12138, revised date 6/19/13, show the proposed corrections and revisions. The house dimensions as shown on the attached revised plan are 38 by 27 compared to the previously proposed 38 by 26, which now equals a proposed main foundation footprint of 1,026 square feet. The deck on the lake side of the house is approximately 8 feet above ground elevation, thus a 4-by-4 landing and stairs were added. Lastly, a 5-by-4-foot porch was added to the front roadside of the house at the proposed entrance. We apologize for any inconvenience these revisions may have caused for this review process. We look forward to reviewing this application for special permit and site plan at the July 10th, 2013 Zoning Board of Appeals hearing. Please contact our office if you have any questions. Very truly yours, David E. Ross Associates by Neil T. Gorman. And there's a copy of the new plan. Today, I received a memo from the Board of Health, and I will read that quickly. I have reviewed proposed sewage disposal plans for this site. The plans need variances and approval by the Lunenburg Board of Health. If approved by the Board of Health, I have no issue with this request. The applicant will need to provide a potable water system to the new dwelling in accordance with the Lunenburg Board of Health regulations. And that's signed James Gareffi. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Would the applicant like to speak to this application?
Good evening. My name's Neil Gorman from David E. Ross Associates, and I've been working with the Codseses on this project, and I believe they have given me permission to speak before you this evening. They're here in attendance. This is a picture of the plan that was originally submitted. This is the revised plan. And for tonight's meeting, because there's a lot of detail to it, I blew it up to a 10th scale just to bring to the board's attention the critical matter of relocating this house. It has a unique situation where the deeded property line is the former high water line for the lake, which is here, which currently runs through the existing house. The current water line is approximately 50 feet further back from the house. In doing the deed research and speaking to some lawyers, to make that deed change would cost thousands and thousands of dollars. In addition, the 100-year floodplain currently runs through, or nearly the entire house sits currently within the 100-year flood zone. To rebuild in that location and to get it properly insured is going to be a future expense for the Codseses for flood insurance. So the logical thing to do was to propose the new location further from the water. So the proposed house in red, as you can see, is now clearly outside of the floodplain. The foundation is approximately 20 feet from the back property line. The back deck and stairs do go over the floodplain, but they're sitting up at a higher elevation. It would just be the footings that are within it. And that structure is approximately 6 feet from the back property line, which is that deeded property line. Whereas we had a 0 offset before, now we've improved it to a 6.6 feet. The previous structure was offset 15 feet at its nearest point to the sideline. It is now 21.7 feet. And the front of the house is offset to the front porch 44.2 feet. And talking to Mike Savageau, is a 40-foot minimum offset for there. So we meet all those requirements. We are now out of the flood zone. We are completely on the deeded property. It's a much cleaner site plan for that. And as Jim Gareffi had mentioned, we have done soil testing out there. Plans have been submitted to him. He has reviewed them. The sewage disposal system is proposed much closer to the road, between the house and the road. It currently sits right here. And so we're getting further from the water, which I'm sure the Conservation Commission is going to be happier with. It's going to be completely outside of the 100-foot buffer zone from the lake. So in order to do that, the Cozzes are having to move their own well so that we can get 50 feet away from it at a minimum. So there's an existing well located here, which would be too close to the system. They're proposing to drill a new one further back on the property. Again, that's under
There's
the...
a water line, right?
And then the water line going directly into the house. It'd be a pressure water line going into the house. So our next step is to go before the Lunenburg Board of Health, seeking these variances, offsets to wells. The location of this new septic system gets them greater than 100 feet from all the abutting wells, but one abutter and their own. But the new system is further from the abutter's well than currently exists, so it's an improvement. We couldn't get 100 feet away from their well. The house is staying a one-bedroom house. It's a one-story house with a full basement. Given the grade changes from the road to the lake, the road's about 10 feet higher than the lake. So moving the house forward and sinking a foundation within the natural soil there would give them a walkout basement in the back or the lake side of the property. And the grading at the front would then cover the septic system, and there wouldn't be any significant grade changes near the road. It would just be backfilling up against the front of that foundation. We try to take into account the two abutting properties, 899 Flat Hill Road right at the corner, and number 11. We're no closer to the road than the average of those two. Although we're moving the house forward and putting in a full foundation, it is going to change the overall height of the structure. You know, probably 12, 14 feet difference because it's moving uphill and putting in a full foundation. But to have a full foundation compared to a collection of numerous different styles of foundations under that current structure. The basement floor is above the floodplain elevation as well. So try to factor in all that in one plan on a small lot, and in our opinion, I think we've kind of made a best fit situation and meet the needs of the causes as best we could.
Okay, thank you. While you're still there, does any members have any questions to ask?
Yeah, I can start it. I'm so happy you brought this because this is very difficult. And there would have been a lot of questions. So there's really, the way you're placing the house now, the new structure there's no variances. You need all the setbacks, side, front, back, everything.
In our opinion, yes, yeah.
Okay. Just a curious question. How did the lake get 50 feet? The high water mark gets...
I believe, is it a controlled elevation now with the lake? Is there a dam on the lake? I think the controlled elevation of it now has changed that significantly. This is all lawn here now and has been for, do you know how long that's been like that?
As long as we've owned it.
Since, yeah, as long as they've owned it. So...
Since 1985.
Okay, I was just more curiosity.
I think it's a controlled elevation by a dam, so it's changed by 2 feet in elevation.
Okay. I really don't have any other questions right now.
Anybody else have questions? Or Molly's?
I have one, Mr. Chairman. Could you point out the other well that you aren't able to get 100 feet away from?
Right here, right off the back. Their septic system is pretty close to their well, their own well, and our septic system is going to be about 80-plus feet from that. The desire is to be 100.
Right.
The minimum is 50. So we've tried to maximize it as far as possible and push that as close to the front property line and the sideline as we could.
Would you think with where that is and then where your proposed septic is, that due to the weight of the water, there's no way it's going to flow that way, it's going to flow away from it, your septic?
Our septic flowing towards there.
Doesn't the weight of the water push whatever would come out of your system away from your lot?
Well, hopefully by the time that, the way these systems are designed now, that within a couple feet below our leach field, that water has been treated.
Oh, okay.
It's an extra protection to be,
Right.
at least 100 feet. Again, Title V allows what they call a local upgrade approval, less than 100 feet. we have to have a public hearing with the Lunenburg Board of Health. We have to notify that abutter of that, and it goes before the vote.
Okay,
But
all right, thank you.
it's the only place we could put the system on the site.
Yeah, I had a similar question to Al's on the line that was in the deed, where the first house was built over it. That was not clear to me where that, in looking at that deed, where that line was, but is that where you got the position of that? By the meets and bounds that was on the deed?
The meets and bounds are on the front roadside and the two sidelines with bearings and distances. The back line, I believe we can read in the deed here, was by the way of the water typically.
So there must have been a taller dam at some time in order for that water to disperse that
Right.
far.
It's only a 1-foot elevation roughly for that whole front yard.
The flood zone elevation is 302. The current lake elevation, when we surveyed it in May of this year, was at 300, so it was about a 2-foot elevation change. Again, I'm certainly not a lawyer when it comes to reading deeds, but the deed mentions, beginning at the southwesterly corner thereof at a point in the easterly line of said right-of-way, and at the northeasterly line of the said passway, 65.33 feet to land to Eugene Leighton et al. Thence south 74 degrees, 48 minutes east by the land of Eugene Leighton et al., 112 feet more or less to the high water line. So 112 feet, this is 65.33, then 112 to the high water line.
Okay, so it did come off the deed then?
It is clearly by, our surveyors, when they were looking at it, were looking at it, and we brought that to their attention.
Yeah.
I believe the Codsis spoke to an attorney as to, you know, is this something that could be changed, and if so, what would it take? And maybe they can respond as to the details to that.
No, that's not necessary for me.
My understanding was it was a pretty costly endeavor,
can
and we had an option to possibly move the house and take care of that issue.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody in attendance that would like to speak either for or against the petition? Hearing none, let's bring it to the board for any additional questions. Al?
No, I don't have any more.
I don't have any questions.
No, I think the presentation was clear. I mean, I took a site visit down there, obviously, the damage to the house, but it looks like, it's going to actually rectify some of the issues that they're having and keep the structure out of the flood zone. And I think it's going to increase the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Even the view from the other two properties, the other people have a better view of the lake with the house moved than they do now. So it's a plus for them.
For the, butters on that same side of the street. The one question that occurred to me was with the additional height, moving it up closer to the road, would that height affect the abutter across the street?
I think they're higher though, aren't they?
I thought so too.
Yeah.
May I bring to the board here just a picture of that house from the assessor's card? I blew it up. Pass it up, you can see it's a multi-story home, and it does sit up at a higher elevation
Right, I noticed that.
than our site.
But it's hard for me to visualize what the top of this house will be now in relation to that, because the other one seemed to be lower to start with, and also it was further down towards the water, so.
That's
Is the
the
new,
picture of the number 11 which is this house here. Its
Okay.
roof line and
Yeah.
everything. So it's going to have a similar shape and look to that.
Yeah, the people on either side, I think, would be, as Al said, probably better off. One other question I had was on these plans that were submitted, this indicated the height on the roadside to be 18 feet 2 inches and 27 feet 2 inches on the lakeside. Which is different than this. So which one is correct?
Come on up here. I understand they've been talking to two possible builders. So
Also, there are two different plans that were,
We had these drawn up by, people, so you would have an idea of what the structure would look like on the location.
right.
As far as the heights go, we really not sure.
We're not totally sure yet because we haven't actually chosen the builder
To
because...
do it, and we have,
So these are from two different builders then?
Yes.
Yeah, two different, people who have seen the we've described the property to them. This one here was done by someone who's actually seen it and so forth, and we gave them kind of a design involved with how high the place would have to be. And so that, again, this is not, we don't have the exact plans for this house, but it's about the best we could do for the given situation. And they seem pretty, in fact, you seem to be pretty...
what is
Well,
the difference?
these are pretty,
What's the difference in terms of the footage that you have? Like, one doesn't actually have the footage on it.
But did Mr. Galloway put the elevations? Did
you
he?
put the elevations on here. This one is, the roadside elevation is, according to this, 18 feet 2 inches, and on this plan, it's 19 feet 11 inches.
Oh, okay. This one here, okay.
19 feet.
Well,
This is
would be the
one.
one that he has seen the property and so forth, and seen this. This was someone we have as one of the possibilities to build the house. Describe this
But she's-
situation, but she...
She's never seen the property yet.
We were just told, you should have something to see what the place would look like.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think the elevations, I guess that could be, was that a foot or so in difference? Is it the pitch of the house that would make a difference, or is it just the fact that there is a difference? I don't know what to say.
Well, I just noted that there was a difference on the plans that was submitted in our package. Not that it's a terribly significant difference, but which one is right?
Right now.
They wanted to, make sure that the location and the footprint were significant. And
Yeah.
and
correct.
If there was they're both within the zoning allowance.
Right.
For sure, being a single-story house.
And
Yeah.
both of them, with this, I think, I want to check before we even did this with the people on either side, too. to
Sure.
make sure it would be, okay, and it's really less of an obstruction to Nancy above us anyway, because of where
It
it's
is?
located. Yeah, because this is it's a narrower house, as you can see from the picture. Okay, and we're going toward it's going lengthwise toward the lake and toward the front, so
Yeah.
that
Right.
So you
didn't
did,
seem to bother anybody anyway.
And I think if they were concerned, they'd be here.
They'd be,
I think you're right, yeah. All right, okay, I guess I don't have any other questions either.
I'm good.
So I'll
Motion?
entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we grant the special permit to raise the existing single-family house and reconstruct a new house as submitted in the plan, and under the finding that it will not be substantially more detrimental than the existing non-conforming structure.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Have a vote.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. So this is approving the vote, and we have 14 days for writing the decision, at which time it goes to this town clerk, and then there is a 20-day period where anybody that might have an objection to the decision would have the right to file an appeal to Superior Court. So keep those time frames in mind. This decision, when you receive it, should be recorded with the Registry of Deeds, and I need to read you a few things to go along with that. In granting the special permit, the Board of Appeals shall assure that the proposed use, which we have, I think, through our discussion, will not be injurious or dangerous to the public health or unduly hazardous because of traffic congestion, danger of fire or explosion, or other reasons, will not have a material adverse effect on the value of the land or buildings in the neighborhood or on the amenities thereof, will be operated with a reasonable regard for order and sightliness, if in open use, which it isn't, will not produce noise, vibration, smoke, dust, odor, heat, or glare observable at the lot lines in the amounts clearly detrimental to the normal use of the adjacent property. The special authorization is granted with the contingency that the petitioner comply with all licenses, regulations, statutes, and ordinances of any and all applicable state, local, and federal boards or agencies with jurisdictions over the premises. The granting of the special permit shall inure to the benefit of the applicant and shall cease in the event the business is sold or sublet to another party. The special permit is subject to a periodic review by the permit granting authority, the zoning board, or the enforcement officer to ensure compliance with the enumerated conditions. Non-compliance to these conditions may result in revocation of this permit. So we wish you well. Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Good night.
Wow. Finished on time.
What do you want? Pictures?
Right along. Right along.
Sure.
Okay. It's just in time for our next one.
Correct.
We have a petition on 321 Wheelam Road. Maybe I see we have some new people, and I should just briefly describe to you how we will run the meeting. First, Lisa will read the application, and then we'll have an opportunity for the applicant to add comments or bring any additional information they might have, and then we'll have the opportunity for public comment, and the board will then come to the board, and the board members will ask whatever questions they may have, and we will deliberate and come to a decision. So with that, would you please, Lisa?
This is an application for a special permit, Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 40A, Section 9, Zoning Board of Appeals. The name and address of the applicant is John R. LeBlanc of 34 Cove Road in Lunenburg, and the undersigned makes application as follows: seeking a special permit to do light automotive repairs and upholstery on auto and marine equipment. The proposed action has not begun. The basis for this application for special permit is found in the following section of the Lunenburg zoning bylaw, Section 463, Section 4631H, and 411B. The street address of the property is 321 Whalum Road, assessors map 98, parcel 105, The name and address of each holder of legal title to the land which is the subject of this case is Michael A. and Judith D. Yeba of 406 West Street in Lunenburg, recorded in Worcester Northern District Registry of Deeds, Book 1925, page 202, and recorded January 26, 1990. If the undersigned has any knowledge of a prior appeal, application, or petition concerning the land or building involved in this case, describe the case and the dates involved. January 31st, 2007, a special permit was issued to Victor Perez of Percor Inc. for a contracting business. And March 25th, 2085, it was an auto repair and car sales lot known as BJ's Auto. The special permit questions have been answered by John LeBlanc, DBA Inside Out Customs permit request. A, the shop use of the building will be for automotive and marine upholstery shop, as well as a classic and specialty light automotive repair facility. There are no dangers to the public health and safety due to the fact that all safety measures will be taken. For example, proper storage for all materials, all work to be done in the building itself with no customer access to the shop, and the shop and surrounding property conjoined with the shop will be kept neat, clean, and clutter-free. The business will not be a high-traffic area due to the normal business hours of 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, and Saturday by appointment only, and no large deliveries or shipments. B, the shop itself will not have a negative effect on the surrounding community, businesses, or any amenities. Not only do I intend to keep a high level of care, professionalism, and tidiness to the business and the property in which it will be housed, but a type of business being conducted there is so specialized that there is not a similar business to compete with surrounding towns. I believe for the reasons stated, the business will actually have a very positive effect on the town and the neighborhood. C, the building will be kept very clean and neat at all times, and the hours of operations should pose no issues with all that are directly abutting the property or any others. D, any noises, dust, odor, heat, glare, or any other undesirable effects of the business shall be self-contained within the business itself so as not to cause any issues or disturbances to the normal use of all abutting and local properties and people. That is signed June 13th by John R. LeBlanc. There's a letter submitted June 11th into the package. I, Michael Yeba, owner of 321 Whalum Road, Lunenburg, Mass., would like to rent my property to John LeBlanc for the purpose of operating his automotive and marine upholstery business and classic and specialty light automotive repair business. Sincerely, Michael Yeba. There is a plan outlining with a customer and the customer parking and an overlay of the lot and the scale of the parking spaces. There is a list of abutters included with a field card showing a photograph of the shop and a map showing the surrounding properties. Also, today I received a memo from the Lunenburg Board of Health. The agent has reviewed the petition for the property and just have the following conditions. One, the operation at this location cannot create dust, odors, or noise in violation with the air pollution control regulations outlined in 301 CMR R7.00. Two, all hazardous materials must be handled in accordance with local, state, and federal laws and regulations. If mechanical work is proposed for the site, the petitioner must be approved by the Massachusetts Department of Public Protection as a hazardous waste generator to ensure proper handling and disposal of materials generated at this location. Three, no tires shall be stored at the site. Four, vehicles must be maintained in a condition so that fluids do not leak onto the ground. And five, in buildings used for storage and repair of vehicles, no floor drains are allowed unless in compliance with the plumbing code and regulations of the MDEP. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Would the applicant like to make a statement or present additional information?
How you doing? Just want to introduce myself. I'm John LeBlanc. I'm the one interested in starting the business. I've currently been doing the business in Fitchburg at another shop since 2008, and just hoping to make the jump and proceed to this location, which I feel will be a pretty good spot for what I'm doing, and really hope to keep it clean and nice, and because I believe it shows how professional I am in the work that I do, and I guess that's about it.
And are you relocating your existing business to this location? Is that what you want to do? So you?
Yes,
you're
I am,
Doing this operation someplace else now?
I am. It's very small. It's a very tiny shop. I didn't even have any advertising or anything like that, so.
Oh.
Yeah.
Any of the members have a question of the applicant while he's up?
I just had a question. So what is it exactly that you're going to be doing there?
Mainly it will be automotive and marine upholstery, boat canvases,
Convertible
tops. I do a lot of custom high-end cars, full custom interiors that I stitch, a lot of hand stitching and that type of thing, making seats themselves. And then I was just gonna hopefully supplement in case I get slow or something like that, that I can do the automotive repair. And I want to specialize in just the classic cars. I do have a couple of current customers that I do a little bit of repair work for. It's nothing crazy. I don't do a lot of huge jobs in there. It's just stuff that general maintenance. So.
And just to clarify, so you've been in business since 2008 for yourself in Fitchburg, but now you're moving to Lunenburg.
I live in Lunenburg as well, and I just had a friend who was letting me use their shop in Fitchburg.
Okay.
The business was always in Lunenburg, but
Okay. Okay. Okay, thank you. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, that's confusing. Okay, just to clarify. So you would have no car sales, correct?
No.
No car
No
sales
car
at all?
sales.
No boat sales, no car sales?
No.
Your business is strictly upholstery?
Yep.
And when you say you do light repair, I'm not quite sure. I know you got into it a little bit, but
Okay.
I really need to know, what does light repair mean, you know?
Well, general tune-ups and like plugs, wires, couple filter changes, stuff like that. Maybe some small suspension work such as ball joints or shocks, things like that. Brakes are something I do. Just general upkeep of cars to make sure that they're roadworthy.
Okay, so this would be like, would this be separated, the auto part from the upholstering and boat part? I know the
Yes.
building's not that large, so I'm wondering.
Yeah, it's not
how we
very
incorporate
large, and there's not a lot of room to separate it particularly. But I would be putting up a barrier, like a curtain wall, to separate one bay, just to segregate that from the upholstery end of it itself. So it's not going to be. I don't plan on that being a large part of the business. I'm hoping most of it is just the upholstery. So it's just as needed, I'd use the space.
Okay, just a little bit of supplemental income if you need it.
Yeah, if I need it. Yep.
Okay.
Just to tag on to what Al was asking, it sounds like that you are not envisioning doing a complete motor job then for a vehicle.
No, I don't plan on doing
No.
much of that. I don't have a lot of space, and I really don't want to keep a lot of those fluids and that type of stuff around, and the more mess I create in there, the harder it is to do the upholstery stuff. So I'd rather just keep it as clean as possible. It's, again, just mostly to supplement if I need it.
I'm sorry,
Yeah, I
Al,
got
go
it,
ahead.
Mr. Chairman. So I see parking for one employee. That must be you. You're going to be a one-man shop?
Yes, I am,
You know, the
yeah,
way you
one-man
laid it
shop.
out. Where are you going to, like, say I get a boat, I want to get a top made, you're going to measure it. Where are you going to keep the boat while you're measuring it to make the top?
Well, I was hoping in those customer parking areas, it would be, I don't plan on keeping anything very long, so it would just be, I would probably put the boat in one of those customer parking spots. And I put so many parking spots on there, just,
Well, you never got any customers to park the way you
Right,
written
no.
drawn this out, but
it was more so, I guess I was using a customer as if I had a customer drop their vehicle off, or mainly for boats, because if I have a boat just sitting there, I needed a spot to put it. So I figured next to the building there, or I could move the boat inside.
as part of the upholstery, will you actually disassemble, pull seats out, stuff like that to recover them, or?
Yes, yeah.
People also drop those things off, so you do it both ways?
Yep. Yeah, both ways. I've had it done. I used to pick up stuff sometimes too, but I'm gonna just try and make sure people bring it to me now.
And no big trucks making deliveries, your fabric comes in UPS or FedEx or...
It's usually just UPS, and I do have one supplier that comes in a pickup truck, but I don't really have any other large packages that would need to come.
And you don't plan on working Saturday, you say by appointment only? I mean, you might want to throw that in there just in case you change your mind.
That's true. I figured personally I might be working there, but I guess I would just be open for customers on a Saturday or by appointment, but I may work there
Well,
personally.
you should
on
probably
Saturday.
just list those hours, whether you work them or not, just for your own
Okay.
purpose. Okay, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Can I just follow up? Did you say that you don't personally trailer any boats in or anything like that? Is that what I heard you say?
I don't. I could possibly, but I was hoping to have most of the customers just bring this stuff to me.
But on occasion, you would pick up a boat, bring it in?
Yeah, I could.
What would the typical length of time be to, say, I don't know, somebody brings in their pontoon boat and they want the seats all reupholstered and a new top put on? What would it be a typical time to redo that?
Really, a lot of that depends on how extensive they want to get, but I personally don't want to have a lot of stuff hanging around, so I try and schedule it so that the boat doesn't stay there hopefully for more than a week. If that's the job I have that week, I'd like to do that one job and get it done, not have a lot of stuff hanging around.
Right.
It becomes overwhelming anyways, but
Right.
also a mess.
Okay, so typically a week, maybe two if it's stretched out, but then
Yeah, if
you
something
wouldn't
were to
have a lot of
happen.
other things going on because being a one-man person, you wouldn't
Right.
bring in other work until you needed it.
Exactly.
You wouldn't schedule it until you needed it.
Yeah.
But hopefully you would grow in this business.
I hope so. We'll have to see how it goes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Jim, anything? Okay. I share Paul's concern about the appointments on Saturday. I think we need to put some time frames around that, even if it's by appointment.
Okay.
The reason I think that I am sensitive to this is that this property is smack dab in the middle of a lot of residential.
Yes, it is.
And because of that, I sense that you're sensitive to that in that you committed to maintaining it and neat and tidy and keeping it straight. But I think that's very important given the location that this is, because it is in fact in a residential zone, but it is indicated on the application, it's been used for commercial site for a good number of years, so it's what we refer to as a legal non-conforming use. But given that it's in the middle of a residential zone, it's particularly sensitive and, for the benefit of the neighbors there, so.
Okay.
Especially where the doors that you would be working seem to face the residential.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of area between the door and the street.
Yeah, that's very true. I would venture to say I would only like to work about 8 to 12 realistically on a Saturday, but I'd say that would probably be a good number to go by.
Okay.
Would you envision that you would have the boats in one of those? I noted when I made the site visit that I believe there are 4 drive-in doors in that building.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yep.
Would most cases, would you bring the boats into one of those bays to work on, or how?
If it's feasible, I'd like to be able to bring them in.
Yeah.
It would just be a lot easier instead of running back in and out. But I know a lot of boats tend to run a little larger, and depending on how I would set up the shop, it would all be dependent on what would fit. So,
but if they would
realistically,
fit,
I'd like to
that's what
keep
you
them
would do, is bring them in, so.
I'd like to, yeah.
Okay. I noted on the plan that you had submitted where you indicated the parking, that is unpaved at this point in time, where the parking is shown here?
Correct.
Is that correct? And do you have any plans for changing that?
I didn't have many plans. The grass there is kind of bare. Where
Looks
it
like
was
a lot of
before I cut
gravel
it the other
under
day.
it, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of gravel there.
Yeah.
I didn't have any plans per se. I more so asked for more spaces just in case. I never really planned to have that many cars there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's quite a few and it would be really tight, so.
I guess what I'm asking in a roundabout way, do you have any plans for paving that area?
I personally do not know.
No? Because that's another board that you would have to interface with if that were the case. Okay, I don't think I have any further questions for you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Would anybody in attendance like to speak for or against this application? Please come forward and state your name and address and let us know what you think.
Hi, my name is Eleanor Lecce, living at 306 Whalum Road, and I am against this. I do appreciate what you've done right now with cleaning it up, and I want to hope that it would be better than what was there before, but the last business that was there, I would call the police nightly. Like, every time a door opens and closes, I can hear it in my house.
You have to speak to the chair, you can't
okay.
speak to the applicant.
So, every time a door opens and closes, I can hear like it echoing through my house. And this even happened when they were first moving in and cleaning up, just hearing like offensive language, just like, even if it's just like 4 or 5 people on the grounds, it's like echoing through my house. So that's just one of my concerns, is the concerns with the noise. And then, it's a tight neighborhood. The properties are pretty small, and so I think that this will have an effect on the neighborhood, and I'm looking at, how we can make the neighborhood improve and not go backwards. And there are safety concerns. Considering the proximity of the playground across the street, there's cars going in and out as it is right now with the playground being there, and it's like dangerous just on regular basketball nights and things like that when kids are going in and out of the parking lot. So adding other cars going in and out is not going to be helpful. There's children living all around, so like in terms of that term light automotive does scare me, because I don't know if that means oil changes at 8 in the morning, cars coming in and out. Environmental hazards regarding disposal and contamination of soils, that's something that concerns me. I know that in theory, like, we want to try to, he did mention doing his best to eliminate that, but there is that issue of contaminants and spray adhesives and things like that. I don't know what kinds of chemicals are being used. And then Whalum Road already has a fair amount of traffic, so those are just some of my concerns. And the idea of supply trucks coming in and out on Saturday morning at 8 a.m. when I'm trying to get some extra sleep on the weekend is not going to be helpful to me. So I'm not for it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Star Slows at 165 West Street, Lunenburg. Just more a character reference for Johnny. I taught him at Monty Tech for years. He's worked for me, and I've worked for him over the last several years. All I can say, he was the top kid in his class. He went to Wild Tech, got all his training in upholstery. He's done some trophy-winning cars already. And I'd say this lady here would have no concern with Johnny. He's very respectful. She's got a problem, he'll address it. And this, I don't know if you know much about custom upholstery stuff. It's not a high-volume business.
Yeah.
All right, you get a car in, hopefully you can get it out in 3 months. By the time you do the seats, the carpets, the dash, the headliners, all this type of stuff. This is artisan work. It's not Joe down the street playing Grease Monkey. And I'm sure with Johnny's character, he can work out any problems within the neighborhood that should arise. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I'm Kathleen Pliska, 337 Whalum Road, and I'm neither here nor there about this project. What I'm concerned about is the notice that I received said upholstery and small automotive. When I went over to inquire what this upholstery meant, then I was told it would be boats. Boats was not mentioned in the abutters letter that I received. And I'm wondering how long boats will be there. Will they be there over the winter in that section that is near the white fence that you're talking about as a grassed-in area? Will they be sitting there on trailers waiting for them to be reupholstered? That's my concern.
Okay,
Thank you.
Other?
How you doing? My name's Steve Cullinane, and I live at 46 Goodrich Street, Lunenburg. Johnny's my daughter's boyfriend. She's been for the last 3 years, and he's a very conscientious kid. He works super hard. He goes out of his way to make sure things are correct and done right. I mean, my friend of mine, he did some boat seats for him, and it got torn by accident. He fixed it for free. I mean, he's a very conscientious, very good kid, and I don't think they'll have any problems with him in the town, working around whatever he needs to do. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
My name is Ryan Boudreau. I live at 304 West Street. John LeBlanc is a friend of mine, and I'm going to agree with Mr. Slozak. Just as a character reference, he's a very good kid. I've seen his work firsthand. He's very skilled at his trade, and I'm sure he would adhere to any policies the board implies on him today. And he's very work conscious, as everyone has said before him. And I'm sure if there is a complaint, he will adhere to whatever someone's desires are as the best that he can.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is it all right if I speak again?
Yeah, one moment. Is there anybody else that'd like to speak first? Okay.
I have another concern about the parking also, the parking especially in front of the building. I think I heard this gentleman say that he would park boats there. Well, it's very difficult if you're coming out of Hamlin Street to see up or down Wheelam Road. So if you had a big boat parked out in front, I think that would be a concern, is people using Hamlin Street, particularly the people that live there and are trying to come out onto Wheelam Road. That's just one of my concerns.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, let's bring it to the board.
I'd like to ask some more questions. And
Sure.
As the neighbors have brought up questions, I'd like to address them through the board. So, one of the things they asked about was the storage in the wintertime on the side.
Yes.
I know that a lot of boat places have winter storage.
Right.
I'm assuming that you have no intention of doing any sort of winter storage there. Everything that's there is strictly going to be for you to work on at that time. But what is your winter schedule? I mean, does it change? Do you get more work in the winter boats-wise, or does it less work? Or
Actually,
is it
probably
seasonal?
It is more of a seasonal thing. Even for automobiles, in the winter, most likely I'd have a lot less, especially boats. If I had anything, it would be pieces, because a lot of people do store their boats, and I have zero intention to do that for them.
Yeah,
I know
I even condition the fact that you can't do that.
Oh, well, right, exactly. But I did address that a little bit, and how I'd only like to have, if any at all, one vehicle that I am going to be working on outside waiting to be brought in. I don't really plan on having anything waiting. I'd like to schedule everything so that it's in and out the door as soon as possible, and so that I don't have stuff hanging around. I do know that, or I remember myself driving by that property all the time, and it was always a mess. And I have been working over there a little bit in high hopes of the outcome of tonight, but I do I would like to keep the place clean. I don't want to have anything obstructing anybody or bothering anyone, and I will do everything I possibly can to not bother anybody, although it is a business, and I don't foresee myself making much more ruckus or anything any more than the basketball court across the street. I mean, as far as I know, they've created a heck of a lot more noise and stuff than I have already, but I'm not too... I'd like to work with everybody. I don't want to have a problem with anyone, and I know everybody needs their...
It's always better to work with everybody and try and not have issues.
Exactly.
One of the things we would normally do is buffers between neighbors when businesses are in residential, but there's really no way to do that at that piece of property that I can see. I know there's already a fence on one side, and that was conditioned when Yubba went in there. The other issue is parking in the front. I do know the issue she's talking about. I actually grew up on Burke Street. I have family that still lives there. I go up that street all the time. So I know that it would be, there's not a lot of room in the front, which she's talking about is towards Whalen Road. If there was any boats or anything parked there, you have any intention of parking anything in that area?
No, I don't. No.
So
I have currently been putting my truck there from time to time for a little bit, but now that I know, I won't be parking there anymore.
Okay. And again, I go back to, and like I said, I grew up in Whalum. I can remember when that was a red and white store, that grocery store owned by the McCoos, and then
I've
an
heard that quite a
automotive
bit.
shop and different things through the years till Yubba, and now you're here. So I am very familiar with that area. So, all right, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Hans? Any other questions? Okay, come forward.
I live at 306 Whalum Road. It's diagonal across the street. I just have a concern about the business hours on Saturday morning. If it was a business district, I could understand 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning, but it's residential, and I just want to make a comment that I would feel more comfortable if it, for example, we started later in the morning. It's nice to sleep in every now and then without the noise from a business across the street.
What does later mean to you?
I don't know what the town has in terms of their ordinances, what they allow, but the later the better, quite frankly.
How late do you sleep, I guess is what I'm asking.
10 o'clock would be nice as a nice safety. Yeah. Thank you.
Well,
yep. Hans?
I don't have any questions, Mr. Chairman. I think that, the applicant seems like, he knows being a good business owner is being good to the neighbors, but at the same point, it's a commercial property in a residential neighborhood. So, I think he'll be respectful, and quite honestly, if the neighbors have any issues with the applicant, they can address it to him or come to the zoning board and the zoning official and bring it up with him. But I don't see anything else wrong with the application. So.
Jim?
I agree that we should condition it that there will be no winter storage, that there'll be limited storage of vehicles while you're working on it to a number certain, maybe 3 or something that would give yourself a little flexibility. If you only plan on 1 and something comes up as a snag, you want to be able to get something new to plan ahead and go from there. But
I'd be okay. Are you meaning 3 outside or 3 altogether? Because
inside, I don't think there'd be a problem.
okay, so 3 out.
3.
I just wanted to
It's
clarify.
just the 3 outside. That would take up half of your customer parking.
That's
And for a limited time, no more than maybe, as you say, a month or 2 months max. So it doesn't carry over into the winter time. It doesn't allow for plowing problems or anything like that.
okay.
And I think his request for 10 o'clock on weekends is, I don't know, most businesses open at 8 as it is.
If not earlier.
The town allows it much earlier, so 8 is, but I think that maybe we could mediate to a 9 to 1.
I could do that if need be, or I could just try and keep the doors closed for a while in the morning as well, if that works.
That would-
satisfies
I'm
anybody.
sure it would be appreciated.
Okay, yeah, that's not a problem.
What generates noise, like compressor for a staple gun, or?
Actually, I was going to draw upon that point myself. I don't have a lot of tools that would make a lot of noise unless I was doing auto repair business, in which case it would just be a few air tools. I can also refrain from using those early in the morning if need be as well. But as far as the upholstery end goes, the only tools I really have are my sewing machine and staple gun, and nothing that really generates any loud amount of noise. So
That would be a wait and see type of thing, and if they have a problem, as direct butters or something, if they approach you first of all, and second, go to the building inspector.
yeah, I have no problem with working with anybody, so I don't think we should have any issues.
Okay, Paul?
I'm good.
You're good? I guess that one of the things that strikes me is that, as I said earlier, I feel particularly sensitive to a commercial enterprise within a residential area. But I think that, what I've seen is that you're sensitive to that, and I would expect you to adhere to it, to any remediation of any problems that come up. The point that you raised, Jim, I guess that the thought that I had is in a way of conditioning that. He's outlined on the plan that he gave us that there's a 20-foot setback from the road for the storage of what he's referred to as customer parking.
Right.
And it would seem to me that by having a condition is that whatever he would have stored there, it has to be confined back in the area
Beyond the
designated.
20, yeah.
So that there isn't an issue with blocking a view to the oncoming traffic or whatever. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
I think, that would satisfy Pleska's question and, give you a complete line of sight right across the front of the property.
Yeah.
To be able to see as you're coming in.
Yeah. The other thing that strikes me about your proposed use of that property is that still being used as a commercial site, which has been a legal, non-conforming use for years now, but from what I understood, you're running a one-man show, basically. So that, to me, seems to be probably less likely to create neighborhood problems than having some other type of business there. So I see that as a positive thing from the use of that property. Since it is a legal non-conforming use, why it seems like your proposed use would be a better fit within the neighborhood.
Uses would be.
Yeah.
Buildings sit and deteriorate.
Right.
So.
Okay, any other questions of anybody?
I have a question.
Yes.
I just want to be clear on the conditions. I know the 20-foot setback, but the three
outside temporary,
and then no more than a 2-month maximum.
I don't think you can condition that. How are you going to police that?
Right.
He's going to say the boat came 6 weeks ago, and your neighbor's going to say it's been there for 3 months.
That's a good
Or if it's been on the air for a month and a half, and he rolls it inside.
You would almost have to, you've got to have leaps and bounds so you can get something to go by, and that to me is not. You can't police that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a number of boats is a reasonable condition, but I don't think a time limit is reasonable. Other than, we will say that there is a condition, no storage of winter boats for the winter. They have to be being repaired.
And just to be clear on the Saturday hours, and that was all. I just want to be crisp on this decision.
So I think, I had proposed 9 to 1. But some people felt that 8 o'clock was fine. So so I don't know the consensus
Maybe that's
of
the
the board.
compromise, make it 9 and try to appease the neighbor a little bit. I mean, it didn't seem like he wanted Saturday hours to begin with. This is just more as a courtesy, so he doesn't have to come back later on, so make it 9 to 1. If that sounds good to you?
That's fine with me, yeah.
Jim, you go along with that?
Yep.
Hans?
I'm fine with that.
Yeah. I think I was the one that initially asked the question, what did you mean by appointment on Saturday? And this defines it well enough to my satisfaction, so.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, other conditions? Should we make a motion first?
Yeah, we haven't got to that yet.
Why don't we discuss the conditions for a little bit if we can?
All right.
Getting back to Jim's point, because one of the things that I had suggested was that the storage of any boats or vehicles must be contained within, beyond that 20-foot setback from the highway.
Right.
And that, to me, seems to control it, because it becomes immediately apparent if it infringes upon that
Right.
dimension. Is that?
That's what he shows.
Chairman, I think we got to remember too, is that, it's a Lunenburg resident who's trying to create a business here in town, and I think we should support him in that.
Yeah.
I think we should just condition it, 20, he has the 20-foot setback, he seems very reasonable about what he wants to do, so, let him, he's got a site plan there.
Yeah.
Let him regulate it. He knows that what he needs to do.
Yeah.
I just think that, over-regulating it is going to be,
Yeah.
you can't do it. So just let him regulate it. If there's issues, I think the neighbors are, he'd come back and ask if, hopefully business booms and he needs to do something else.
So the 20-foot setback is...
20-foot setback.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that condition.
Not a condition.
No, it is a condition,
Okay.
20-foot.
So the 20-foot setback, the 3 outdoor storage maximum.
You're
and-
taking out the 3.
You're taking out the 3.
We're taking out the 3.
And then no
In other
winter
words-
boat storage.
In other words, we're setting an area, not a number.
Okay, and then the hours on Saturday, it's not a condition, it's just part of the...
It's just part of
Well, I mean, it's just part of the regular...
Special permit.
hours of business.
Because
Okay, and as far as lighting, there's no lighting that's going to shine on any of the neighbors' residences or...
I don't believe so. There is an outside light that shines on that area next to the building. If I do have stuff
I
stored,
understand you have to have security, it's just
Yeah.
that you can't have it so that it's
I don't want to put it in anybody's house, no.
intruding in, yeah.
I don't see anything that would cause a problem. If it does, I can direct it away or somehow figure something out so that it doesn't bother anybody.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Chair will accept the motion.
I'll make a motion that we grant the special permit with the conditions as discussed.
I'll second that.
Okay. More discussion? Or can we start with Elisa reading those conditions that she's noted there so far?
Your copy, because I made one and I can't find it. Thank you. The first one says spray painting. I don't think there's going to be any of that. Okay. So I won't even add that. Number 2, vehicles must be placed 20 feet from Whalum Road. All loading and unloading of vehicles to be done off-street for safety purposes. No parts, materials, or storage shall be displayed or stored out of doors. No junk, as that term is hereinafter defined, shall be stored or maintained out of doors. The term junk shall mean any cast-off or discarded articles or materials which are ready for destruction or which have been collected or stored for salvage or conversion to some use. The petitioner shall conduct the business at all times in a manner so as not to be offensive to the residential abutters. The granting of the special authorization shall in order the benefit of the applicant and shall cease in the event the business is sold or sublet to another party. The permit will be subject to a periodic review by this board or the zoning enforcement officer. If the restrictions noted as part of this granting of this permit are not adhered to, or if operated in any way
offensive or detrimental to the neighborhood, this board would ask the enforcement officer to begin the procedure to rescind this permit. The petitioners shall abide by all requirements of the Department of Public Works in the town of Lunenburg and the state of Massachusetts with respect to ingress and egress of the property. The petitioners must comply with the town of Lunenburg bylaw regarding signage. Any lighting shall not be offensive to the abutting properties. The outdoor parking and display shall be in accordance with the plan submitted with the petition. And that's all, Mr. Chairman. Some of the others don't apply.
Thank you.
The others don't apply, yeah.
Okay.
You asking for a vote?
Are we ready to vote, or do you have any additional comment?
No additional. I think we've covered it.
Okay, ready for a vote?
Aye.
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 Aye. I think you were here to hear this, but you've already, I think, included in the conditions, there's much of what I had read before, but this is granted with the contingency that you comply with all licenses, regulations, statutes, and ordinances of any and all applicable state, local, and federal boards or agencies with jurisdiction over the premises. I know that you covered those others. We have 14 days to write the decision of the board and get it to the town clerk. And following that, there's a 20-day period where anybody could appeal this decision to Superior Court. So be cognizant of that, and you should record this decision with the Registry of Deeds when you obtain it. And with that, wish you well.
We wish you the best of luck with your business.
Good luck.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Motion to adjourn?
I
Gal already did.
Yeah, anybody like to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's always the nights you think you gotta go bing, bang, boom. Quarter to 9.
A Classical New England and our Facebook page at Classical New England, and there's a post about this piece, and also if you go to our website and do a search for Sendai, there's lots of great material there. We'll hear a little bit more